All right, I'm recording now.
I need to see what to do because I think I'm looking for maybe a 200-pound paper because the settings in the P900 is automatically. You just put the profile in the Photoshop, the profile in the printer, and it's supposed to, and also have it always running like a thick paper. So I don't know what else I can do, but I
You don't
think
have you don't have any kind of setup or settings in your setup that allow you to go in, because I know when every time I change paper, when I or change or load new paper, it pops up and asks me if I want to keep the same paper thickness setting or go to a different one.
they're supposed to do it automatically because you're supposed to set out the paper type and the head's supposed to adjust by itself. At least in this model. So
Yeah.
you know, and that's what when I come back, I might play around spacing wise to see if I can get a 24-inch printer instead and just choose this one. Maybe take this one to Florida with me and just leave it over there. So something in that line. But
Oscar, if you're going to get a second printer and you're going to print black and white, I would put cone inks in it.
yeah, that's the other thing I'm thinking. That's what I might end doing if I'm going to do a batch of black and whites. I'm going to just convert one to only black and white and have another one just for color. But let's see what happens. Let's see how things go. I just need to make money first, and I mean real money.
What's real money?
Real money? I don't know.
Is that a monopoly money?
Guys, I'm going to mute you for just a second. I've got a phone ringing.
I need to. I don't know how to explain it. Real money. Oh God.
You're already making real money.
I'm making money, but I know real money.
Then you're probably in the wrong business then.
Oh, I'm in the right business. Oh my goodness.
Oscar, I'll tell you, if you want to convert a printer, I can give you an exact price right now. Hang on a second. I haven't run enough tests, but I'm not as happy with the current inks as I am with the older cone inks that I just took out. Let's see here. I'm done, buddy. What printer are you looking at?
You know, I will get another Epson printer. Oh, it's just that I don't want to deal with changing dealing with the profiles. So most likely, if I buy another one, it will be. I will convert the 900 to black and white and buy a bigger printer for the color.
Okay, Sure Color 900. Let's see.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Allison.
Hi, Allison. Interesting. Let me do a little more digging here. Shot by ink. Some of the newer cartridges have serial numbers on the individual cartridges, and once you use a cartridge, it records the serial number, so you can't refill them. Okay, Physiography Pro.
There was some legislation proposed at least to prevent that. That they couldn't keep you from refilling it.
There was let's see here.
Sort of like seeds. You know, farmers have to buy the seeds each year instead of getting the seeds from the plant.
Also, part of it was right to repair was another thing up, but there was something specifically about refilling ink cartridges.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember
I
if
know.
it was a state one or if it died in the Senate or something.
You may be out of luck, Oscar, with with that printer. The closest thing I can find, there's a P600, there's a P400. There's a P800.
Yeah, that's the old model.
Okay.
If I can find one, then I can. That would be the.
They don't list the 900.
Yeah, the 900 is the current model.
You're looking at ballpark. It lists the cartridges and everything for the 800 at $800.
That's not that bad, really. If we could still take inks, it's just, you know, I think that the holds a little more ink than the P900.
That is the Physiography Pro ink set, and that lets you do matte, glossy, or digital negatives, and it also lets you define warm to cool tone on your own. It's got warm and cool tone inks, and you mix them. You go in and it's got warm. It has settings for warm, neutral, and cool. And then you have highlights, midtones, and shadows. So in each of the highlights, midtones, and shadows, you go in and set a percentage of warm, neutral, and cool inks that you want in that area. So you can do, you know, cool highlights and warm shadows, warm all the way through, you know, however you want to set it up.
That sounds it. I might end going and some if I can find one use, that's the problem. And then comes the problem, it better be in good shape. Oh.
Yeah.
What about like a I don't know, salvage type place? Recycling, salvage. I mean, a reuse, some sort of reuse place.
You know, there's used ones out there, but you got to be careful because if the heads are messed up,
yeah, that's the problem.
you just bought a you know, a very expensive. It's not even good for a paperweight because it's too big.
Yeah.
Can you tell if you look at it?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
You've got to run prints, and it might
Yeah.
print for a while, and it might work for 2 weeks and then die.
Yeah.
Well, if the price was right, it could be worth it anyway. I mean, depending.
Well, not if you're going to have to spend $1,000 to put inks in it, because then you're dedicated to, then you're stuck locked into, you're locked into
I
that
understand.
printer model. Yeah.
To that ink. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Good. It's not pocket change.
I spent, I bought flush stuff. I put I bought flush, I bought new cartridges, and I bought inks, and it was $1,700 for my 7890.
Yeah, it's you know, I
I hope
expect
that goes,
no, go ahead.
I hope that goes into the price of your work. I mean, it's a consumable.
Yeah, it does. But you know, this is my piece of equipment, you know, that I use, Allison. If you look around you, how much have you got in all your tools sitting there?
Right, exactly. Although mine increase in value rather than decrease, a lot of them anyway.
So
Enviable phenomenon.
What?
It's an enviable phenomenon.
Yes.
I
And
appreciate
a lot of the tools,
equipment.
yeah. That's why, I mean, certain tools you can get used if they're in good condition, and you know, they'll last many lifetimes. Plus, they're pretty.
What are you talking about? I'm sorry.
Tools and tools
Jewelry
and
tools.
and how certain tools appreciate,
Right.
like my rolling mill or my guillotine cutter, things like that, like the bigger equipment. So, anyone doing any shows?
I'm going tomorrow to Ann Arbor.
Ah, okay. I've never done. Now that show has a lot of different shows going on. Is that right?
Yeah, 3 shows in one big area.
Got it. I hope that the weather is mild for you. I know it's a hot time of year.
It is going to be what it's going to be. I'm not worried about that. Quite
Mhm.
honest with you, it's nothing I can do. That's the least thing I think about it.
Oh, interesting. I always study the weather just so I'm prepared. I mean, even though the weather can change.
I know it's just like it's going to be what it's going to be, you know. But
Mhm.
I'm not going to set up my tent any different. I set up my tent if like it's going to be a tornado going through no matter what, and
Mhm.
that way I know I don't have to be worried about if it's going to be good or bad. Like you just set it up the proper way. You don't have to think about it anymore. So at least that's my approach.
Mhm.
But weather-wise, tomorrow looks nice. I think. I hope. Yeah, tomorrow's supposed to be 83. Thursday we're going to get wet.
Mhm.
Friday
You know,
should be,
a little rain could be nice for an art fair.
no still on a 70% chance.
But I mean, what I'm saying is some days, you know, could just be drizzly and it's actually pretty pleasant, you know, and then people can't do other outdoor activities. So there have been, you know, if it's the right type of rain.
Well, my first week in Ann Arbor, it was rain like I had never seen before growing up in Brooklyn. So
Ah,
it can,
well,
rain in Michigan can be fierce.
yeah.
Yeah, it says thunderstorms tomorrow night.
Okay.
Thursday.
Yeah. It's where I went to college.
Yeah.
Ann Arbor.
Yeah. It's actually where my mother was born.
Ah,
So
My
am I,
grandfather owned a little grocery store in Ann Arbor.
ah,
He had one in Detroit. He sold it. He opened one in Ann Arbor, so all of his kids could work in the boarding house and in the store and go to college at the same time.
uh-huh. Well, that was convenient for him, huh?
He was obviously a very smart man.
Mhm.
So between his 7 kids, I think there were 2 MDs and 4 or 5 master's degrees.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of siblings.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, 2 for the first wife, and
Ah,
Acno was 6 kids, 4 from the second wife.
hard to count them when they're running around.
Well, my mother said that he would start with the oldest and work his way to the youngest when he was trying to figure out who he was talking to.
Oh,
Well, I'm number 1 of 8, so.
so anyone else doing any shows? So Ann Arbor is next weekend.
Comic-Con,
Oh, that's right. Is that next weekend?
setting up tomorrow, and it'll be full. The art show will be open Thursday through Sunday.
Oh, wow. I hope it goes well.
Well, thank you.
Plus it's indoors, right?
Right, that's
That's such a luxury.
the question is, do I bring a shawl or,
Oh, right, because it might be cold inside.
yeah, depending,
You know, I mean, bring everything.
yeah. Well, I only paid for 2 days of parking, set up and take down day, because it's $25 a day plus a $7 a day convenience fee, or $8.
So they don't have parking. They don't have parking for the exhibitors, it sounds like.
Yeah, if they buy it.
Well, a lot of shows, I mean, I used to do a show in the convention center in Pasadena, and maybe the show bought the parking for us. That could have been.
The show Comic-Con buys parking for certain staff.
I see.
Staff type. The director of the art show got a hotel room with a parking space
Mm-hmm.
that Comic-Con pays for. And I think the assistant director also, but everybody will get you a room, but you have to pay for it. And same thing for parking.
Uh-huh.
And then some were
Well,
the choice of either parking or a room. So
got
I
it.
don't.
Well, hopefully it'll pan out that the $25 won't be much of
No.
anything.
25 plus its convenience fee of ordering it ahead of time.
Ugh,
So,
that's outrageous.
$32 a day.
That
They
is
can't
so outrageous.
They can't raise the price because they have a contract. That parking garage, Ace Parking, has a contract with the Port District, and they capped it at 25.
Uh-huh.
But they can charge whatever they want, I guess, as a convenience fee, and it's not
Right.
order, it's per
And
day.
And it's not so convenient for you.
No, the parking is down at the convention center, and I'm at a hotel, about a quarter mile away.
Ah,
So I have to go over there, drop off stuff, then go park, and then walk back.
hmm.
So
Always a lot of work doing shows, no matter.
yeah, one way or another.
Right. Well, I hope it goes well.
Well, thank you. I've got my
I look. You have your what?
car's loaded.
Uh-huh. Well,
Have to go around and check and make sure I brought everything.
do you have a list?
I do.
Yeah.
But I've been known to skip things on the list because I
Okay.
read it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, yeah.
Can you have someone else look at the list for you?
Oh, I don't know. Probably could, but
Because I know what you mean. You read the same list, you know what's on it. And it's the same way we could spell our own name wrong because
I do that too.
because we're in the habit of knowing what it, and so having a second person check it. I always have Eric, my husband, look at the list. We go over it together, and I have four shows without coming home, and so I need, and I don't think I've ever done that many in a row, but so I need more zip ties and more packaging, things like that. So I've been making notes. And then when I get home, the next day I fly to St. Louis. So I have to, so I'm making notes because that list is kind of a variation since I'm flying and I can't bring as much. And so it's a lot, it's like kind of overwhelming in my head, but if I just separate them out, it helps a little bit. But I'm not going to have time to think about packing for flying because it's such a quick turnaround. So I'm trying to plan it all now. This way I just have to look at the list instead of figure something out, including bringing ground coffee and coffee filters and my collapsible cones. You know, on the road, I have a food pantry I bring with me. So all of that is in it.
Well, that changes every year, what's available and where and what you can use for it. Like there's a Starbucks in the convention center, but you can't use Starbucks gift cards for whatever reason, because they have a contract specifically with the convention center.
Oh, that's outrageous. Also, I mean, I just, you know, I'm picky about my coffee, so I just bring it. And, you know, the problem is hotel rooms often don't have coffee makers anymore. They have that pod thing, but any hotel that has breakfast, you can get hot coffee. I mean, hot water or tea or something.
Well, Keurig.
Right.
You can also buy a reusable pod thing that you can fill with your own coffee should you need it.
Oh.
I do that.
One of my friends got one on Amazon for when she travels, and oh, I gotta remember that. I should get one for Steve.
It's a good idea.
You call that?
What did I see? I saw but I forget what it's called. It's a little coffee maker, an AeroPress, and now they have a grinder that fits in the press, so it's all very compact. So there's definitely more options.
The next time you go backpacking,
Yes. You could use it for that too.
yeah.
But you know, there's all these little, I mean, the shows are so rigorous that it's nice to just have a few little creature comforts, you know, to make it through those 12-hour days.
Well, Allison, I keep telling you, I got the perfect solution for St. Louis for you.
Okay, I have a solution, but go ahead. What was that?
Well, this is much better than your
that's right,
solution.
cancel.
Yes, just call Sarah. You're going to give me your booth space.
Actually, I have somebody who is, I mean, I could rent a tent, but loaning me a tent, weight, and lights. And so that'll be really, because I could bring lights on an airplane, but it's one less thing. You know what? You have time. You could totally still get in. And, you know, people, I know last year I was on the wait list and, you know, people cancel, you know, even up to a week before because they do other shows and they sell out, which is something, you know,
I know.
I can't even relate to, but
I've got to, I'm trying to get, I have between now and the end of September, because Thursday after I get back from Plaza, I'm going to be in a cast for 2 months on my left hand. And so I can't do anything.
Right.
So I'm trying to get stuff taken care of between now and then.
Yeah. Have you contacted her?
I sent an email a couple weeks, the 3rd of July. I'm going to follow up around the 1st of August.
Yeah. I think that's good. Just, you know, keep letting her know because, well, starting off, I know last year at Park City, there were some 2D artists who sold out. So maybe wait till Park City's over.
Well, I'm gonna follow up on if I haven't heard from her, I'll follow up on around the 1st of August.
But I didn't hear from her when I had emailed her. So anyway, I think
figured
it's
I
very,
wouldn't hear
very
from her
possible.
unless I figured I probably wouldn't hear from her unless she had an opening.
They sent an email out recently reminding people that it's an originals only show, and your images, your jury, look at your jury images because that's what they expect to see in your booth.
You know,
Well, they had a problem with one artist last year.
You don't mean the one that they had to kick out because the work was, she faked her images?
No, this was a guy, and he juried in with one set of images and showed something else.
Ah. But last year was also the year of the stealing of images. The
I'm
jeweler.
sorry, it wasn't last year, it was year before last. They had a problem.
Wait a minute.
Hello?
I feel like it was last year. Well, anyway.
Year before last,
Because
they had a 2D artist that juried in with some.
What are you talking about?
That we did on that.
Social media with some his
Did on
jury images and his bio and everything kind of led people to believe he wasn't who he was.
oh.
And
I
then
didn't-
when he showed up with
Antique basket setting.
maybe one or two pieces of his, what he juried in with, but mostly his whole booth. And he's one of these artists that has every square inch filled with something hanging on the walls, was all his typical stuff, which was nothing like what he juried in with.
Oh, I don't think I heard about that.
Yeah.
but that's one of the things that some photographers do. Like they jury with one set of images, and then they go to the show, and it's nothing. I mean, nothing looks like what they jury in.
Well, St. Louis has a compliance officer coming round. And just checking that exact thing.
Yep.
That you're showing what you juried in with.
The first year I did it, Cindy Larrick walked by with it was Sarah's first year. Cindy Larrick walked by with an iPad and was looking at my booth, my booth shot on the iPad.
Right.
Yeah, Zap leases the iPads to the shows that want them. And they have all the jury images on them.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea. I mean, given the issues out there, I think it's nice that they do that. As one protection, I guess you could say.
Oh, the shows have to pay for that, though.
Right. Well, clearly it's important to them, to St. Louis.
It's the shows that can afford that. And it's only the top shows can afford that.
Got it.
Yeah, it's even sometimes you see friends that jury one set of images, and then when you go to the booth, they got like too many of the other stuff in there, and the walls hang. So.
Right.
I had a photographer tell me, we were talking about black and white versus color, and he said that there was a photographer that juried in with black and white, showed up, put up his booth full of color, and they came by in Fort Worth and said, you have two choices. You can leave, or you can take down all your color and put up black and white like you juried in with.
Yeah.
Did he try jurying in with the black and white because it's less competition for it?
No.
It's seen, in some cases, black and white is seen as more artistic. And I put that in big old quotes.
Yeah.
I have had photographers come up and talk to me about it. In fact, I did the first year I did Brookside, there was a photographer that's not doing shows anymore down the way. And he made some comment to me about, he was going to start doing black and white because that seemed to be what got into shows. And I got in off a wait list at another show and he was doing it. And I walked by his booth and his booth was all black and white. And he looked at me and I mean, you could tell he was physically uncomfortable,
Well, he told you ahead of time he was going to do it.
Yeah.
The thing is, it depends. I never get it, what people think is good art is different from everybody else, and it's a random thing every year, and then comes the part that if it's the same jurors using every single same shows, you're going to end having for some shows the same people over and over and over. But
yeah, but you don't. I mean, you don't. It's not like there is one jury that travels around the country and does all the shows. You might have one person jury 2 or 3 shows.
Yeah, I understand. But I'm talking about like for the. I wanted Douglas and Will talk about this. So this is the take that I keep wondering. Also, it's like we all fighting to get to this top 10 shows and then the top 30 shows, because those are the shows that run properly, that you have the most potential to making money. Doesn't mean that you're going to make money.
Right.
But I just wonder why the industry had gone to a point that you only know some shows you can do and everything else is a gamble. Like you don't know what's going to happen. So sometimes you want better to stay home. And for me, it's a little easier because I got the installations.
Yeah, Oscar, there are most of the artists out there don't go after those top shows.
No, I understand
that. A whole bunch of artists I know that do great at regional shows.
Right.
And they've got a list of shows, regional shows that they do. And, they might like to do one of the top shows, but it's not if they don't get in them, they don't care. They're making money and it's easier. I'll tell you, it's a lot easier as far as setup and logistics, even though they may be better run. I tell you what, you go in and do a show with 200 artists compared to a show with 100 artists. And unless the show with 100 artists is just, really crappily run, a lot of times getting in and out and set up and everything else at a show with 100 artists is much easier than a well-run show with 200 artists.
No, I don't have you there, but I just go in my case, I don't have that. I don't think there's that many good shows per se in Chicago. I'm talking my particular case. So, and for me to travel to a show, at least in my mind, it's like it has to be an established show. I'm not going to just grab a show that I never heard about it before and just travel a day of driving all night, even if it's 7 hours. I don't want to drive 7 hours each way just to try to show that I never heard about it before.
Well, right. All things being equal, you want a show that's well run. You need people at the show. If there's no people, then you have no chance. So
but you need the right people. You need the right people at the show, and not just art buyers at the show. You need people in your demographics.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of times you can't figure that out until you do a show a couple times.
Or you create a body of work that's universally accepted.
Well, that sounds impossible.
Easier said than done, Larry.
Oh,
yeah.
I did
universally accepted.
I did it.
I can see that because that's but.
And you sold your soul to the devil. That's all I got
Exactly. all the way to the bank. I had the most commercial photography anybody ever sold at art shows. And I couldn't get into the top shows, but it didn't matter.
I'm not saying the opposite of that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying like in my market, I don't have. I was talking to a friend about it. He does really well with Amy shows, but I don't know if it's the local thing, but I don't do as well locally compared to out of town shows, not even close. Even Old Town, I make more money in Madison than I make in Old Town this year. Same thing the 2 years ago. And it could be that it's the local thing, but I would love, to sleep in my bed every day.
But then there's the other thing, and Oscar, I don't know if it's for you, like for me, Old Town varies so much because, I'm meeting and engaging with new people. So sometimes the show might be but other times, somebody who's been like looking on my website, who I met, it could be a year later where they decide to make a big sale. And so that's what I have to assess. Because for me, it's not one show fitting between these borders. It's more of kind of a mishmash of people meeting me, and like the Cherry Creek, the person, I made a sale to somebody I met here at the local artist market, but she lives in Denver. And I met somebody at Cherry Creek who lives here who signed to my mailing list. So maybe she'll come to my studio. I don't know. There's a lot of maybes out there, but it's one way. Somebody's not muted. It's one way that I assess shows, as far as engagement and kind of, I have to guess also. But sometimes it's just important to show up. And if I look backwards in my history anyway, that's how it works for me. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you have to build your clientele. You have to do the show. If you're not losing, if I'm not losing money in the show, I will keep. If I get accepted to the show again, I will keep doing it. It's the only time I start doing the show is when I'm not making expensive or they have no interest whatsoever in the body of work. So I know it's still my market, but and I do believe that you have to try the shows by yourself. But there's some shows that there's no way in hell you should be trying to do. So, but
that's just like, I went up and I did Crazzle 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And if I had known that St. Joe was a resort area, a tourist area, resort area, I would have never gone. I would have never done that show. But I didn't know that. That's why I don't do shows in Florida. That's why I only do, Cherry Creek in Denver, in Colorado. That's the only show I do. I don't do any of the mountain shows because I do horrid in resort locations.
There will be an insurance.
That's the.
Excuse me. Somebody is not muting themselves and they're talking to someone else.
That's Mark Grosser.
Mark.
Hi,
Hi, Mark.
am I talking?
No, but
Someone's
somebody in
talking
your
to you.
background is.
Oh, let me go Paula's in her office. Let me go shut her door.
But Oscar, you may find with your black and white that it will get you into some of the larger shows, but you may find that your sales are higher at your smaller shows with your other work.
No, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the case. I'm counting on that. So, and if it happens the opposite, I will let you know.
I'm kind of the opposite of what I just heard Court say. I'll only do shows in resort areas. That's my market.
Yep, that's fine. And it's all a matter of knowing what your market is.
That's the key. Knowing
And
what
that
your market
takes
is.
time.
Oh. No, but it's
and to the point that even at Cherry Creek, the year that they moved it to the parking lot and had it end of the year instead of the beginning of the year, there was a different crowd, and it was more tourist based, and all the artists around me were just racking up sales left and right. And I didn't even make my expenses at that show because it was all tourists. Whereas I've had some of my best shows, with people walking their dogs, they walk by and they come in and go, "Oh, I like this," and walk out.
It was not all tourists at that show.
Well, it usually isn't when it's 4th of July, but when it was in the parking lot that year,
no, that parking lot show, I saw my local customers, one of them who it was her first time. I'm just saying it wasn't all tourists.
No, but it was a higher percentage of tourists. And that's the feeling I got from doing the show.
Well,
it was a higher percentage of tourists than the other ones. Now,
my mailing list says something different.
Well, now, okay, we're talking about two different things. We're talking about a targeted audience that you've contacted ahead of time versus people that are just walking in.
No, I'm talking about the people who signed my mailing list from that show.
Okay.
It's not like they were from all over. I mean, I'm sure there was, and I could actually refer back to it. But
the question you have to ask because this is what I understand from the Colorado shows. The Colorado shows are usually the people that live in Texas. They go up to Colorado in the summer to stay away from the heat.
I'm an expert of that. That's absolutely the truth. And when I said tourist, I shouldn't have said tourist. I do shows where people have 2 to 3 homes, and I want to be at the place they are when they're in their second or third home. Naples in Florida in the winter, Breckenridge in the summer. I mean, those are my 2 biggest markets, and it's exactly that. It's people getting out of the heat in Breckenridge, people getting out of the cold in Naples.
Nobody's going to Denver to avoid the heat, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't do any shows in Denver. I do Colorado all summer. I go down to Castle Rock as our last show in Colorado, which is South Denver, but Denver's not my market.
All right.
I've tried Pearl Street. I've done Howard shows there. I've done Pearl Street. I've done a couple other promoter shows in Denver. It just never works out for us.
Hello.
I'm just saying Denver is not I mean, I've done Crested Butte, and people are going there to escape. Texans are going there to escape the heat.
Yep.
But Denver is pretty hot in the summer.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Yeah, wait, hold on.
Yeah, we just came back from Breck, and then our next show will be Breck again. So, but I'll do 3 shows there in the summer in Breckenridge, but it's always, there's the local Texans and Kansas City people, but then you get a lot of Denver people up there for the weekend. I guess those would be the tourists.
Well, I consider anybody that doesn't live there year round a tourist. They may own a home there, but if they don't live there year round, they're a tourist. If it's not their primary, let me rephrase that. If it's not their primary residence, then they're a tourist. So, Allison, that's just what I found in the parking lot. The people I talked to gave off much more of a tourist vibe. I did not see, when I have done Cherry Creek in the past, you get early morning people out walking their dogs. Always made sure I opened up early, and always had people in early and things like that obviously weren't there. And a lot of the people I talked to that one year, we're here for the weekend, or we're here and oh yeah, I'd love to buy this. I lost a couple sales because, I can't take this on the plane with me.
Well, it's interesting because the show was at a different time of year because it was post-COVID, that parking lot show.
Yeah.
And so, that also could play into, why people were there or not, because traditionally it's July 4th weekend.
Yeah.
So, but, as far as what I was saying before, as far as this long-term thing where I have to assess if a show is worth doing again, even if I've done only so at it. Because that year I had somebody contact me ahead of time. She tried on some things, and then after the show, I mean, she ended up, with 2 different high-end pieces from me, and so that was, fantastic. But I can't know that,
Well,
and that's happened at.
And Allison, people looking at high-end pieces, I don't care what it is, but there's a certain price range that, it may take 2 or 3 contacts with somebody before they buy.
Mhm. Right. But
And it's not just
assessing-
jewelry. I hear the same thing from painters with, big pieces that are, $4,000 or $5,000 on up.
Right.
People have to look at it and see it and feel it 2 or 3 times.
Well, everybody, so long. We'll see at least some of you next week.
Yeah.
Katie, you're going to be in the meeting next week, or are you going to be busy?
I don't know. If I live, I'll be there.
I want to hear about it.
All right, take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Well, nobody's talking. Hey, Larry, how about those dead shows?
I think Larry's off
Oh, is
camera
he
on the
off?
phone.
Phone
Yeah.
call.
So Mark, why you not do Ann Arbor?
It's too hot, too many people, too many jewelers. It's like an average show whenever I would do it, and I'd spend 4 days, and it's just hot as hell. When Paula ended her corporate job and came in full time with us, that was her first thing. I'll go anywhere, but I'm not going to Ann Arbor.
Oh wow.
It's a pain in the ass. The expensives on the hotels are so expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, Barry, I tried in the room with Barry, and my part is $240 for 3 nights. And I didn't thought about it so much about it, but that's ouch.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seemed to be a pain in the butt. And then you get spoiled going to Colorado. I mean, last week up in Breck, the average temperature was 65 in the day, no humidity, 47 at night. I mean, you get spoiled. Even coming home, it's like, I want to go back to Colorado. I don't do any Midwest shows in the summer. I do Summer Fair, and I do St. James Court. Summer Fair is real early in the spring, and St. James Court is, late in the fall. And then I have one show here in Carmel, which is in September. But that's it. I don't do any Midwest. I don't go to Chicago anymore. Chicago's 3 hours from us, but the market up there is just, you go to one show, they're all Amy's, and oh, you're going to be at Oak Brook next week, right? It's like they want to see you at all the shows or something before they buy. I just wasn't working for us. The last 2 shows I did up there was Highland Park, of course, with Amy, and Naperville. And we did those for a couple of years without doing any others, but that, and then the crime in Chicago is another issue. Walking around with a backpack full of jewelry is just not something you might want to do there.
Well, I think that's something you don't want to do anywhere, basically.
Yeah, well, a lot of places, right?
Yeah.
That's why I don't do Atlanta. And, I don't really do any big cities anymore now that I think about it.
It's it's just I just was saying that I wish I could sleep in my bed every time, but I because you can do a show every weekend in here, but I know another friend, another photographer that he doesn't travel, does just the local shows, and he's having a hard time. He's mostly selling just prints, and not selling that many frame pieces. And that sounds more like a, maybe you've been doing the shows in the area for too long, but who
Yeah.
knows?
Who knows?
You
That's
know?
true.
But then you go and talk to another friend of mine that lives in Wisconsin, comes to Chicago, is making good money. And I mean, good money. And I do the shows in here, and I can't even come half of what he's making.
Yeah.
So I really don't know anymore. So
Did you ever know in the first place?
yes. I knew everything the day I started.
Yeah, exactly. And then you
And
changed
then you
your
found
mind
out
real
it was
quick.
all wrong.
And then I discovered I was wrong, big time wrong. So, the biggest fear that I have, Court, right now is I got to apply to some shows with both body of work, and I got to get accepted with both body of work, and I cannot fit a second booth in my band.
That should be your worst problem, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm
Or
looking.
you could choose to show less work.
I'm going to tell you, if I get picked up between both bodies of work, I will go with the color work over the black and white financially.
Mm-hmm.
Can't you show both? I mean, if you get in with the color, you don't show your black and white at all?
No.
Seriously?
Yeah.
It doesn't fit together.
It's totally different. It's like you look at that work and you want to think it's me.
I know there was an artist at Cherry Creek this year who has done the show, I think 10 years, all color. But this year in their jury slides, they had some sepia work that they did. Now, this isn't photography. This is a multimedia artist. But this year they showed there's slide pictures with only these brown tone items in it. They were also promoting black rights and some things like that. It was very politically motivated stuff. They got in, they came, they brought the work, that exact work was there. They filled in with all their color work, and they actually had the group of artists, including David Bernstrom and the group, who wanted him tossed out of the show or make him put away all of his color work. Show director came, smiled at him and said, "You're fine. Show what you got. You've been coming here for 10 years with that work. Just because you juried in with this other newer stuff, it just wasn't bright, colorful stuff."
Which show?
Cherry Creek this year.
Bjornstam wasn't even at Cherry Creek.
This was talking about Rick Abrams, and he's the one that told me the story. So I don't know if David wasn't showing, but was he there?
No, he was not at Cherry Creek this year.
All right, well, that's one of the names that he mentioned, but he said that there was a group of artists that wanted him to put away his other work. How they knew what he juried in with, I'm not really sure.
Well, I don't know anything about that, but all I know is that he wasn't at Cherry Creek.
Well, maybe I got that particular name wrong, but I'm pretty sure he said Bernstrom, and maybe it wasn't Cherry Creek. Maybe it was a different show. I don't know.
It was a different show, and he wasn't.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't that show. It was a different show, and he wasn't showing any of what he juried in with at all.
He sent me a picture of his booth shot. He had the brown work up. What show was it? If it wasn't Cherry Creek, where was that?
St. Louis.
Yeah, that's right. St. Louis.
I walked through his booth. It wasn't there.
Wasn't there at all, huh?
Nope. Not at all.
Well, I would also say that for me, when I jury, most of the stuff that you might see in my jury may not be the exact item in the booth because I usually sell it real quick.
That's different.
Yeah, this was, he used the brown work to jury in, but all this stuff's colorful. It was the same technique and the same style, other than the political undertones and everything being brown instead of bright colors. No?
Nope. Nope. It may have been the same style. It may have been the same technique.
Technique.
May have been the same technique, but that's where the similarities ended.
So
Because
you don't think he should have been showing his other work either? Is that what I'm hearing?
right. His other work is very bright. It's almost it's based on comics. Very bright, very like comic superhero kind of stuff.
Right.
And that was not anywhere near like what he juried in with.
Huh. Yeah, he showed me the pictures, and I think the ones he juried in with, right, had some sort of black. It went towards like BML kind of stuff. Is that what I saw? Is that what you saw?
No, I didn't see it. It wasn't it. That's what he juried in with, yes, but that's not what was in his booth. Nowhere in his booth.
Well, he sent me a picture of his booth, but then again, that might have been not at that show. Who knows? I don't know when he took the picture of his booth.
But
and
yeah,
in that picture he had it mixed in, but
Well, that might have been his jury picture.
could have been his jury booth picture. Could have been, sure.
yes, it was not in his booth.
So
that was the problem.
I
If I showed up, if I jury in with black and white photography and I show up with a booth full of color photography, and I would fully expect people to be pissed off, and I would expect at a top show to get my ass kicked out. I'm not showing what I juried in with. And I don't care what your medium is, I don't care what it is. He wasn't showing what he juried in with. And if shows don't stand up to that, it's a problem everywhere.
But am I right in the show director said there was not a problem and let him stay, right?
I have no idea about that. Don't know anything about that.
Okay.
So on a different subject, I do a local artist market. They jury it once a year, so all the artists are juried in, but it varies widely. And it's all different mediums, and the price points vary widely. I mean, it's in conjunction with the farmers market, but down the way, in Santa Fe. And I do it because it's like my foot traffic. I meet people who hopefully will buy from me at another time, which has happened, and I make sales there. But one of the trends I've noticed is, unlike an art fair where people are going to the art fair and they've psychologically prepared themselves to buy something if that's what they're going to do, at this event, people don't know, they don't expect it, they just happen upon it. The hotels will say, oh, go check out the rail yard. And also, so aside from the farmers market at the rail yard, there's several galleries, very high end, like you could buy a $900,000 sculpture, for example. So last Saturday, I had somebody who tried on these gold earrings. They were $2,600. She loved them. She tried on a few other things. She said, no, I love those. And she said, but I want to be honest with you, I wasn't expecting to spend that kind of money today. I was just walking by. And so, I did what I could do, asked her to be on my mailing list. And she actually, she scanned my QR code and went on to Instagram. And that's an age-related thing, I think, as far as wanting to be on Instagram instead. But so she's following me on Instagram. I saw that, but I don't know if is there any way to make a sale when people are saying they're not expecting to spend that kind of money.
Tell them to put it on their credit card and
no, that never works. Trust me.
With jewelry, we always offer a layaway program, 10% down, 10% a month, no interest.
I do offer that.
Yeah. That would be my only solution, I think.
Right. I mean, I think the only thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
I did notice that Square has partnered with a firm or Klarna or one of those places. You take a few percentage points less, I believe. But I need, that's something I want to look into, because it's an option, for people to spread payments out.
Right, but
So
I
you're
would
talking
do
about a
layaway.
financing?
Yeah,
Yeah, you get all your money and they pay it off over time. It's like
We've had
creating a new credit card.
We've had several of those kind of companies through my 45 years of being a jeweler for the store. Every single one of them, though, will not loan money to someone without collateral. If they don't own a house, they don't have cars, they don't, you know what I mean? So if they can't afford to buy it anyway, they're not going to give them the loans.
Yeah, this is different. This is you basically, if you make any online purchase, you see one of these companies there.
Right. Yeah, no, I
Okay.
know what you're talking about. But I mean, I offer layaway, which is a free loan, and
Right.
it's worked out fine because they don't get the piece. But the other thing is it allows me to build up a relationship with that person and and hopefully have repeat sales. But at this artist market, it's something that, I have heard, that they're just not expecting to spend that money. So I don't think there's anything I could do about it except collect their information, put them on a mailing list if I can, and and just hope for the best. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, there's not much else you can do.
Or
Yeah.
50% now and 50% in 30 or 60 days.
Yeah, but we still
Right,
don't let them
but-
take the merchandise with that kind of a deal.
It would depend upon the customer too, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I've let people do that, and they
And-
paid me early.
And how much money the piece is worth.
Well, that's the problem with jewelry. It's, they
Right.
give you 50%, maybe they can go hawk it and come out ahead.
Well, a lot of it is really based on trust, I think. And on the other hand, it could be nice cash flow. I have somebody who she's paying off a necklace from another jeweler, but she really loves this one of a kind piece. So I asked her for a minimum of, it's actually 5%, but I have the piece. I've also worked with her before, and I've never had to ask her for money. She always tells me when she's sending a check. And so she'll start paying it off for real in September. And, it's a piece it's a very specific piece, and so you have to love it, want to wear it, and afford it. And so I'm happy to work with her, rather than having that piece just sit in backstock or in the case for another however many years. So I think, as small businesses, we can be flexible. We try not to be stupid, right? But we want to be flexible. And this person has already, spent a lot of money with me. So I wanted some money down though, just so she has some skin in the game. And so I had to ask her for a deposit, and she said yes, and it was fine. So and then I don't mind getting, I don't know, $1,000 a month for a little while. So there's nuances, but yeah, this artist market, I'll sell things like $600 or less, mostly $385 range, but yeah, people are just not expecting it there. So anyway, I try to think, how could I have made that sale? But sometimes there's just no way. And it doesn't matter how much money somebody has. And she never said, oh, they're too expensive. She said, I can't, I wasn't expecting to spend this amount. And do you take cards? So So who knows?
Yeah, I can't easily find which one that their Square's working with, but I know it was, I got an email
I've
about it the
seen-
last couple weeks.
Yeah, no, I've seen those things. I know what you're talking about.
I think it was Afterpay.
Right. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, that might be it.
So when I take layaway and I'm getting a check, I could be saving hundreds of dollars in fees also, just as kind of a side bonus.
Yeah.
You also have to read the person.
Do you have any kind of written agreement or anything that you give them?
What I write up is the total cost of the piece, and then I document each payment. So it's kind of casual.
But when you give them, when you write it up initially, do you give them anything that says, this much each month?
Depending on the cost of the piece, my standard is 50% down and then the rest over 3 months. However, I'm flexible, and so it's really on a case by case situation. I mean, I had somebody paying off a pair of $400 earrings once, and I got $200 down.
But I mean,
that's
it
yeah.
doesn't matter what the do you write down what the expectation is you have with them? Do you write down that it's, they're paying 50% and X number of dollars a month or anything like that? Is that on your sales ticket?
So what I do is, like, if it's a $6,000 item, for example, often it would be something I have to make. And if it takes me 4 months to make, I say we could split it into 4 payments. The last payment would be before delivery. So it's not, so it's written, and I make sure I send them a text or an email with the full amount and with whatever we've agreed to, but it's not that formal.
Okay. No, I just wanted to know if you put it in writing somewhere.
I do. I definitely,
Okay.
I do. I put it in either a text or an email.
Okay.
And it's very important to write down the price, the total price, because sometimes people hear something different.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely have that written down. But it's not really a contract kind of thing. That's why I say it's a case by case. I have to make a determination of the, even with custom orders. If somebody's like a real micromanager, I'm not creating CAD, drawings for someone to see. They have to just look at my work, and if they need something like that, then they're not really the right person to work with for a custom, or if they're so worried about all these different, if they want the stone irregular but slightly this, and like all these tedious things, if they can't just trust me, then I find that I've had very good luck with custom orders, but it's a certain type of person that they trust me, they just put it in my hands and they're fine. Not to say I don't check in with them.
Yeah. As I get more into wanting to do bigger sales of multiple pieces, and these are all things I'm looking at.
Well, it's always good to have, the written things, like written return policies, and I have a written return policy, but especially over the holidays, people want to know if they could return something, and so what I'll do is, for them, I'll actually write it down on paper, if they're in person, and I always say store credit. Now, if somebody really wanted a refund and I had no other choice, I have the flexibility to do that, but I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
You have a 10% restocking fee.
No, I don't have that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We have on every receipt that we give says all sales are final.
Uh-huh.
And the reason is we had a customer once buy a big piece,
Mm-hmm.
wear it for about 3 months, 4 months, decided she wanted to return it. She didn't call and ask us. She sent it back registered mail. So we didn't even know what we signed for a package, right? Now it's in our hand.
God.
Without
horrible.
us. So we called her. We said, "What did you need the size or what's the?" No, I want to return it. We said, "Well, it's obviously been worn. It was scratched. It was this, it was that." She fought us and went to her credit card company, and we ended up losing because we didn't have all sales are final written on our receipt.
Uh-huh.
So she bought it.
They usually defer to whatever the state that you're in that you made the sale, which is most states are 30 days, and that was already 4 months.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly the exact particulars, but I do remember that's when we were told by our lawyer to write, maybe it's an Indiana law, I don't know, all sales are final on the receipt.
Right. But
And she probably bought it, wore it to a couple weddings and a couple events or whatever, and then just wanted to send it back.
Yeah, that's scummy. But so mine says return within 7 days for store credit, but over the holidays or whatever, I'll if somebody asks if it's a gift, I'll say just return it by January 15th. You have to give a date to return it, because otherwise, especially if it's somebody
Right.
they might think, oh, I could return it whenever, and so everything has to be written. But anyway, Court, to what you're saying, it's always good to have policies written, and you can make exceptions to your own rules.
Oh yeah, I understand that. No, I knew that. I just wondered what information you gave them in writing when you did a layaway.
Right.
When we do a layaway, we do write everything out, 10% down, 10% a month, no interest, blah, blah, blah. But, like you said, you make the rules, but then you break them yourself all the time.
Right.
But if you don't have them in writing, you can't enforce them.
Right.
Right. Right. So having a return policy is really important to have on your credit card slips, on your website, anywhere.
Yeah, I tried to put it square in the website. All sales are final. So because I don't do refunds.
Right.
I had a lady come into my booth in Tulsa during Mayfest when it was downtown, and she and her friend were drunk. And she bought something and then decided she wanted another one. So after she'd paid for the first one, she bought something else right away. So she got her credit card bill and looked at it and saw the same charge twice, and forgot that she had bought 2 things. And then immediately started the chargeback process, and then realized, oh, I did buy 2 things. But she said once she started the chargeback process, they would not let her stop it. So I had the 2 written receipts. I sent them the 2 written receipts with an explanation that she bought one item, paid for it, and then decided she wanted something else, bought it, paid for it. That's why there were 2 identical charges, and I had 2 receipts.
And
did
they accept that?
Yep, they took it.
Good.
We had a drunk sale down in Coconut Grove that you mentioned, drunk sales. We knew she was drunk. Her girlfriend bought something. She bought a couple of items. within the week, she calls us up and says, hey, and she just was real honest. She goes, I was really drunk and I shouldn't have bought these things. So of course we gave her money back. I mean, but she was honest about it at least, you know, she knew that she had made a drunk sale.
You know, I tell people that if you're honest with people up front, you get more.
Exactly. Yeah, if
know.
she'd have given us some bullshit about, oh, I didn't fit right or didn't match my dress,
Yeah.
but she came right out and said it, and you had to laugh a little bit and go, yes, no problem.
Yeah, and this was this was two $25 sales.
Wow. She was upset. It's not even worth the time, you know, the time she spends in trying to fight it.
Well, she just saw the two $25 sales together and forgot that she'd bought two
It
things.
made two. Yeah.
Then I mean, after she started the process, she realized she had indeed bought two things. So she sent me an
Maybe
email.
she-
She sent me an email and apologized.
Maybe she shouldn't drink so much at art fairs.
No, we need more drunks buying stuff, Allison.
Or more drunk artists selling stuff.
Yeah.
Or what?
Plenty of those.
What was that? I missed that one.
More
Sorry.
drunk artists selling stuff.
Oh.
She wasn't as drunk as the lady that was walking down at Brookside that was spilling red wine all over herself.
At least you didn't pour it in your bin looking at the work.
No, that happened to Ella Richards at the plaza. Somebody was selling these big fishbowl drinks, and Ella has a lot of bins with original artwork in it, and somebody set their big drink down on top of one of the bins and then knocked it over all over the bin, picked her glass up and laughed and walked out.
Oh my God. We had some girls up at Art Seats and Beats one time later in the evening, and they were both drunk, and one of them stumbled and fell into the case and almost knocked it over. Paula immediately asked her other friend that wasn't as drunk to please take your friend and get out. Leave.
I don't understand this, like going to art fairs and getting drunk. I just, it doesn't actually sound very comfortable either, you know. Well, just the whole situation, and yet it's pretty common.
I've been drunk at some art festivals, but I'm working.
Right, that's different. You're behind the booth.
Yeah, and then I have Paula to be there not drunk, so that helps.
My wife very quickly intercepted the drunk lady with the red wine because they were headed into my booth with the white fabric walls.
Ooh.
My wife had just washed them.
Come on.
Oh, and then there's dogs. Like, that's my biggest fear.
Yeah, my wife politely offered to hold her drink for her while she went in and looked around. And the lady goes, "Oh, okay, thank you."
Wow.
She handed it back to her and was spilling it all over herself, and her friends were telling her she was spilling it all over herself. She didn't care. She just laughed.
Wow.
Hey, Allison, I just sent you a blog, the third one.
Okay. You're cranking them out. That's a lot of work.
So, Oscar, are you at Ann Arbor?
Yeah, I'm going there tomorrow.
Okay. Do you do Ann Arbor Court?
Yeah.
No.
I've never applied.
Allison, you don't do that. You don't do Ann Arbor, do you?
I've never applied.
Yeah. We did it in the very beginning just because people told us we should. Just wasn't my cup of tea.
You know, I was telling that to a friend of mine that's doing Glencoe this weekend. And I was telling her it's not the same show that used to be. It used to be that you can do that show and one more and you'll be set for the year. That doesn't happen anymore.
You're talking about Ann Arbor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like once upon a time, there was the reputation Ann Arbor had. They make that show you set for the year. That's back when
Well-
Larry used to do shows.
I don't like the idea of all these piggyback shows. So Bellevue Art Museum show has like there used to be 3 shows at the same time,
Yeah.
and now I think there's 2. But it is the ugliest setting for a show, that parking garage,
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah.
I know people used to say that they did really great at that show, and I don't know, it never panned out for me, and it's very expensive to do.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
either. I tried it 3 times and
Hmm.
flew out there and the whole deal. Just
Yeah, I tried it 3
expensive.
times also. Yeah.
Allison, I
And
think
it's-
there's one of the things about Ann Arbor
Mhm.
is the shows all, even though they're separate, they work together to some degree.
Oh,
Yeah, it's one website for all the shows.
Yeah.
I didn't
and-
realize that. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
That's how
That's a lot of.
St. James
I'm
Court
better-
does.
Oh, yeah.
St.
sorry.
James Court does the same thing. There's 5 shows, but they all go under one banner. But you apply for them separately. They're run separately, but they all go to meetings together and talk about the whole thing as one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now there's
interesting.
shows like Paseo in Oklahoma City, which has a scab show right next to it that they don't want. They don't want anything to do with the other show.
Mhm.
The only reason the other show is there is because Paseo's doing theirs.
Right.
Isn't that the same in Des Moines? They have the other show at the state fairgrounds, which is an indoor show.
Not
Yeah,
anymore.
Madison has off the square.
And Madison has off the
Wait,
square.
wait. Does Des Moines have another show?
No anymore. They barely up this year.
You know,
Oh, this year was
I
it?
don't. I'm afraid of Des Moines because of the weather.
Yeah.
I always hear great things about that show, and I've done the other show, and I don't know how people make money in that show. It's Des Moines. There's nothing there. I don't know who's buying the work.
Well,
basically.
there actually, you should go into downtown Des Moines. There is a lot there. There's a lot of companies, especially a lot of insurance companies, have headquarters and offices there. There is a lot in Des Moines. One of the
Right.
largest printers in the United States, not printers, publishers in the United States, has offices there. So yeah, there's a lot in Des Moines.
But Oscar,
I've
you
never
said
done
you did
well
the
there.
other. You've never done well there? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's just that weather there really scares me.
We did the downtown show twice and we did the one out the fairgrounds twice. And the only time I made money is when it poured down raining and we happened to be at the one at the fairgrounds, which was indoor. And it was just packed because nobody could go downtown and they'd plan on seeing art or buying art that weekend. So that was the one weekend we actually made money in Des Moines. So you can't depend on the other show raining out to make money. That's just not
That's not
a good plan.
I also,
Well-
and I don't know, I've the times I've been at Des Moines, I've been in almost the same area, and I think where you are in that show makes a difference.
I think
Oh,
you're
yeah?
right.
I think there's more traffic in some areas than there is others.
Yeah, the name Hennepin comes to mind. Is that a street there or something? I think we were on a street named Hennepin, which wasn't the main street the 2 years that I was downtown. So yeah, I think that does have a lot to do with it.
Well, I that weekend next year, I think I don't want to apply to I might apply right now. Who knows? But the show that I really would like to try it again, if I can get in, is the Utah Art Festival.
Utah?
Yeah.
Those
that-
are those are long hours.
Is that the one in Bend? No, that's Oregon. Utah Art Festival.
Salt Lake
City.
It's in Salt Lake City, and the hours are like 11 to 11 or something like that.
11
Oh,
to
wow.
9. 11 to 9.
Oof.
But it's only 3 days. 2 days like that. The last day they close at 6.
Ah,
So you pack up. But you know, if you plan it right, you can take a couple of days before the show and do some sightseeing
Mhm.
in the national parks, or you can do it 2 days after. You know, like ideal situation would be to hit a couple of parks just to see them, enjoy it. You know, but
Well, I was gonna do that on the way to Park City, but it's too hot.
it's not
Like
hot.
it's triple digits out there.
That's nice and warm. What are you talking about? You should enjoy that heat.
But it's a dry heat,
It's only 100
as they
degrees
say.
here.
You about done?
Getting there.
All right, I'm gonna take off, folks. I gotta
Yeah,
go.
I need to go myself. I need to go and
Yeah.
I'm not going to cook tonight, so I need to go and get dinner.
All right,
Yeah, I should go too. All right.
Oscar, good luck at Ann Arbor.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye,
I
everyone.
promise if you see Barry next week, he survive.
All right,
Bye.
bye, everybody.
Bye. See you,
Bye,
Larry.
Mark.
Hey, Larry.
Yeah,
What do you think of those last Dead shows?
I'm
got-
not following Dead and Company.
Oh, you didn't hear about Dave Matthews out in Colorado?
No, what happened?
Well, Dead and Company played Folsom at Boulder, which I guess they had not had concerts there in like 9 years. And the last concert they had there was Dave Matthews. So Dead and Company were the first group they let come back and start doing music. They must have changed the rules back or something. And on the last night, Dave Matthews came in and did the last 4 songs with them.
Oh, that's cool.
And then they were using drones in the sky to create Steal
the
Your
Grateful
Faces.
Dead. Yeah, I know. I've
and the
seen that.
Bears. And then the last show was in San Francisco over the weekend. And on the very last show, as everybody was leaving, the drones were in the sky with a skeleton with a top hat, tipping the hat to the people as they were leaving.
That's cool.
Yeah. I would have liked to seen it for that. I did get to see the one here in Indy, and I got to admit, that was probably the best Dead and Company show I'd ever seen. They were just killing it. I mean, who would ever thought that John Mayer would become a Deadhead?
Oh, John Mayer's a great guitarist.
I know.
It's Bob Weir is the reason that they're not going to continue.
Right. Yeah. Well, Bob's out with the Wolf Brothers, though.
Yeah, I know, but that's not as intense.
You're right. And I think that's part of why it was so good this year. I think the young guys were like, okay, this is it. Let's let it all go. And Bobby tried to keep up.
Yeah, Bobby tried to keep up. All the complaints on Facebook are their songs are too slow.
Right. Yeah. But this year they stepped the tempo up. It was a lot of fun. What about Fish? You've never seen Fish. You're in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah. They're going to be
like
here for 2 nights.
Yeah, they're there like another day or two.
Yeah, I know, but I won't go to that facility.
You don't like Star Lake?
No, it's too much of a hassle. Plus, I have to leave the dog for hours.
Oh,
it's not like going to a concert. Like I went to see Dave Mason. The concert was only an hour and a half. I was home by 11.
Yeah.
But it was good. And because all the songs were short, like album versions.
Uh-huh.
So he played a lot of songs in an hour and a half.
Sure. Yeah. And I went out to Star Lake once, and I saw
Dave Mason is a great guitarist. I never realized that. When I saw Jim Messina, it was like he was so stiff on the guitar. It was like he only learned how to play the guitar solos for the songs he was playing.
Oh, wow.
Where Dave Mason was great. He improvised, and he was really good.
We went to Star Lake twice now that I think about it. Once to see George Benson, and another time to see Cher.
Oh, I saw Cher at the, what do you call it? The indoor facility. I saw her twice, but my wife saw her like 3 or 4 times there. I would drop my wife and her girlfriends off and wait outside the arena for them.
At the indoor arena.
Yeah. And then she'd call me when the concert was over and I'd pick them up right in front.
Well, the only thing I have tickets for at the moment that I'm for sure seeing is Government Mule, which is Warren Haynes. I don't know if you know that name or not. He was the other guitar player in the Allman Brothers for all those years.
Okay.
And then he's doing a thing with Jason Bonham. Jason Bonham plays all Led Zeppelin, of course.
Right.
He's opening up. And then Government Mule is going to do something called Dark Side of the Mule. They've got an album where they did nothing but Pink Floyd.
Okay. You know, there's going to be a concert right here at Heartwood Acres, like 3 miles from my house. It's 3 tribute bands from Watkins Glen.
Oh, you know, I don't know if you told me about that or if somebody else told me about that, but I have heard about this.
10-hour concert. The band,
Yeah.
the Brothers and the Dead.
Yeah,
And 3 different
people-
tribute bands.
Yeah, and some of the tribute bands one was an all Allman Brothers tribute. That's what they normally do.
Right.
Yes. Heard
Yeah,
about
the
this
only
one.
the only problem is it's 10 hours.
That's a long day.
Yeah, I can't go.
You can't leave the dogs.
Right. Just one dog down to
One dog, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when we started doing these art fairs, we had an old English sheepdog. And when he passed, we would love to get another dog, but we can't do it till we stop the traveling. Just isn't fair to the dog.
Yeah, I know. That's why my wife, when I stopped doing shows, my wife said we were getting a dog. She had already decided.
Yeah.
That was 16 years ago now.
Well, I think when we finally stop, we'll get 2. Just start off with 2. Why feather them in? We don't have that many years left. All right. I just wanted to jump on your meeting here at the end.
Yeah, it was
Um,
nice. Hey, when are you going to send me some new stuff to photograph?
I don't know. I've got a few things. I just don't know what's jury worthy. You know what I
But
mean?
you can't keep using the old pictures.
I don't do any shows that care. I don't apply to shows that care.
Yeah, but you apply to Coconut Grove.
Nope, not anymore. I talked to Trisco. He's not going to apply next year. Neither Skip Enos, and neither is Prescott. You know, Prescott, the sculpture guy.
No.
Yeah, you've seen the big giant flamingos out of steel and the big elephant that the head rocks and stuff. I mean, he's huge, forklift stuff. He was up in Breck last week and we were talking about Coconut Grove and he says he's not going back either. We're not going back. We got in all those years till last year. And my problem with that was the jury, with Cindy
Yeah.
Larrick and
Not Cindy.
what's her name?
Oh,
Larrick. Carla Fox, David Bernstrom.
Yeah.
And who's Larrick? What's her first name?
Cindy, but she's a show director. She's not connected to the Grove.
No, she was one of the jury members.
Oh, was she?
Yeah. That's when you have those 3 people as members, it's not a blind jury anymore. I don't care what anybody says.
It's never a blind jury.
Never a blind jury, but let's at least have a jury that has no personal relationships with the artists. Or at least with those 3, you got years and years of knowing the artist, who you like, who you don't like, what your style, it's just not, to me, and because you read what I say.
Yeah, by the way, this is recording.
That's fine. Put it out
Okay.
there.
Okay.
I don't say anything in private that I don't like to say in public. I mean, I don't care.
I don't know if anybody's going to listen to it an hour and a half in.
Well, anyway, so I'm glad to see that everything's going well. And Our shows have been pretty successful this year.
Oh, you know who I'm going to see? Lorena McKennitt.
How do I know that name? Marina McKinnon. No.
A Gaelic singer.
Oh, really?
Beautiful, beautiful voice.
Well, that'll be fun.
Everybody heard of her because they used one of her songs in one of the Highlander movies.
Okay. So that got her name on the table.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be cool.
And for
I
that,
see more.
it was almost sold out. I only got one ticket for that. Normally I buy 2 tickets, and if nobody goes with me, I have an empty seat. I
So
don't
people
care.
knew. People recognize her, obviously.
Yeah. I'd love to see Alison Krauss if she ever comes around.
She's doing a little bit of the Willie Nelson, he's doing
Yeah.
his tour, and they're going to
But that-
be in Louisville. We're thinking about going to that, and I
Or
think
Emmy Lou.
yeah, but Alison Krauss isn't going to be playing on that one.
Yeah. Emmy Lou was touring with Mary Chapin Carpenter, and I've seen Mary Chapin Carpenter twice over the last 5 years. Phenomenal concerts.
You still get to some
But they're
shows
not
there.
coming to Pittsburgh this year.
Yeah, Pittsburgh gets some pretty good stuff.
Yeah. And
go to-
especially small theaters.
Smaller theaters, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
what
best.
I've got musician friends here in town. We tend to see a lot of local music, but kind of like bands that we know, locals.
Right.
All right, I'm going to try to get Paula to go lock up and go home.
All right. Nice seeing you, Mark.
All right, buddy. Good seeing you. Bye-bye.
Bye.